Welcome to Scott Talk with Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky. We're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, and with the good comes the bad, the ebb and the flow, bad bounces, maybe some things that don't go your way, and obviously you can only control what you can control, Coach. And I mean, I guess let's start with sort of reverse order of operations, because obviously the beginning was not very good. You dug yourself a hole, dug out of it, but from backwards moving forward, 35-30. Did Jeremiah Neely touch it? I don't know. I didn't think he did in real time. Should Jeremiah Neely been anywhere near the football at that point? Probably not. But obviously, you dug yourselves a hole. You came out of it. They always talk about the growth from a loss. You've come back in the second half a couple of times. This time you come up short. But sort of, I guess, walk us through the emotion, if you would. I know you were very unhappy post-game, but there's a multitude of frustrations in a loss like that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, the way the game ended, I just feel like taking it out of the kids' hands always hurts. But in retrospect, you always look at there's multiple plays throughout that game that if we do our jobs, we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't have to hinge on that play, and it doesn't have to hinge on the officials making the right call or the wrong call, however way you want to take a look at it. So I was probably more upset at the end of the game at myself for letting the game get away and not being able to capitalize, when we get the lead back and we got them backed up and then you give up a big touchdown run, or the ability to get off the field when you got them a third and long and things like that. So it's definitely not, in the heat of the moment. Obviously, you're upset about a call that doesn't go your way, but when you look back at it, you realize there was a lot more that goes into not finishing the game.
It was such an odd game from the flow where, it felt like a time, come hell or high water, you couldn't do anything right. And then it felt like sort of the tables had turned, and then all of a sudden Fairmont couldn't do anything right. You couldn't stay on the field. They couldn't, then they couldn't get off the field. It was such an odd sort of game. And, the ebb and the flow, and all of a sudden there was big plays that, are going their way. And then all of a sudden we've got a bunch of big plays going our way. If you could sort of walk us through some of the adjustments and, conversations that were had, that's about as animated of a sideline as I think I've seen with you at the helm. And I don't mean just you, I just mean in general. It was, really ebb and flow of emotions for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, again, as you look at it, we knew we were going to have our hands full with them on offense. They have some familiarity with our scheme. They did a good job of taking advantage of our scheme and coaching up the things that we like to do and making us be uncomfortable, especially from a defensive standpoint. I think offensively, as we look at it, probably got too greedy at times. It's one of those situations where you look at, there are so many things open, so many things clicking, that you get a little impatient. And we got outside of ourselves from an offense standpoint. Again, I look at our offense like, guys, you scored 30 points. We've got to find a way to get a stop and win on defense that we really couldn't do. But I think offensively, as we look at it, before the half, trying to go for a big play instead of just taking what they're giving us and go and say, hey, if we go into this thing, 20-9, and we got the ball going back it starts the second half, we're in great shape to double up and get some more points. And so we look back at that one, and that one hurts a little bit. We forced the fumble there as they got the ball in great field position, and then we go and try and take a shot. And, those conversations with Coach Griffin, that's just not who we're going to be, as an offense. We want to be a team that wants to control the clock and find our moments to be explosive, but it's definitely not off a sudden change, because every defensive coach in America is talking to their kids about, hey, stay over the top, stay deep, and we threw it up into soft coverage. So those are some things that we'll learn from and get better from, but by no mistake was our offensive staff's fault for not winning the game. Defensively, it's solely on us. We did a poor job stopping the run game. We gave up probably about 150 yards on 2 plays. So just really unacceptable on our end, running to the ball, leveraging the ball, fitting our gaps properly, tackling. So those are all things that we got to get back to the basics. A lot of coaching, a lot of teaching of the just basic understanding. Do you know what you're doing? Are you in the right spots? Do you know why you need to be in this spot? That was really the focus on practice today, and making sure everybody understood exactly what we need them to do to be successful.
Now, obviously, the run that you're talking about, the 86-yarder by Farrow, just had taken the lead and, 24-20, come back. We always talk about how fine the line is. I'm sure that, not the degree of being in the wrong place matters or minimizes the pain, but, in that situation, somebody's wrong, but it's not like they fell down. Is it how, could you sort of explain to the people watching just how fine that line is about being right and being wrong, it being a no gain versus an 86-yarder?
Yeah. So, we had Jaden Branch line up over the guard there, and he ends up getting cut off by the offensive tackle. So he's a B gap defender there. He ends up in the C gap, right? So you're down one defender there. Our safety triggers on the slide route from number 3 instead of coming back and being a bonus fitter because we already have an overhang player that should be fitting 3 out. That's a second defender that you miss. The backside safety ends up getting cut off by a guy that's 2 gaps outside of him when he needs to really be in the middle there as an A-gap fit in the defense that we're asking him to because it's our 3 high safety defense. And then the nose not knocking it back and really compressing that gap. Even with Jaden getting knocked out a gap, he fights to get back in, and I believe that it's a hold, it's a tackle right at the point of attack. Again, can't put it in the official's hands. That doesn't help, and now you get up an 86-yard run. So when you got 3 guys that are not where they're supposed to be, you're playing with 8 guys out there instead of 11 guys, and that's what's going to lead to big plays all the time. So.
Yeah, and again, we talk about being perfect. If 10 are perfect, 1 being out of position, it negates, and that's what makes this the most physical chess game going. You do have to be pleased. You ran the football a little bit again. Obviously, the run defense, leaves let a little bit to desire. But it was again, they made adjustments because they got you early, and then you seemingly sort of shut them down, and then they had the big run. But for the most part, I thought you kind of fixed things defensively in the second half.
Yeah, again, at the end of the day, all those plays that they ran in the first half, they ran in the second half, and there really wasn't much adjustments made that our guys need to calm down and be like, guys, these are the plays that we ran at you at practice all week. The one thing that they did to try to neutralize how we like to move our front base off the back is they try to flip it real quick, and we still made the adjustment and still were exactly where we needed to be. He started cutting the ball back in the gap schemes on the backside A gap. Our overhang player has to start to fold in there and make that play. Where they got us off balance was they started to, RPO our safety that's now is basically on an island by himself. So that's where it made it a little bit harder. But again, we got to coach off that tape. We got to get better in those situations. We've got to be able to execute there and make those plays. And legitimately today in practice, we ran the 6-7 plays that we think Gannon's going to try to get after us with. And then we corrected the mistakes and ran the plays that we need to make sure that we're fitting because teams are going to take a look at those. And if you're not doing it right, they're going to run it again the following week. So
now the one thing that we had talked about, ad nauseum, but now becoming a bit of a bright spot, and you're starting to get chunk plays in your ground game. Yeah. We're going to talk to Caron Robinson here in a little bit. I know that you're obviously not pleased with the outcome, but now this is what, for the better part of 3 straight weeks, you've been able to run the football a little bit. That was a bone of a contention, and you repeated that we're going to be able to run the ball. Obviously, now you're a team that can run the ball. How pleased are you with that offensive line and Caron and Jerry?
Yeah, I really think the offensive line continued to do a great job of creating some movement. And again, our offensive staff just not asking our guys to do things that they can't do, which I think is part of this whole growth process and figuring it out as a coaching staff with these guys. And then Caron and Jerry are starting to really get comfortable in what we're asking them to do. Their reads are getting so much cleaner, a lot less jump cuts in the backfield and saving those for the second level defenders, and getting downhill and getting vertical. I'm sure Caron will tell you there's still probably 2 or 3 touchdowns that he left out there on the field, and we're just going to keep continuing to clean that up. But he's starting to play his best brand of football, which is what we need here as we start to get down into the nitty-gritty. And Jerry's doing a great job as well. And they're both kind of feeding off each other, and they're really good teammates, and they both just like support the heck out of each other. Hey, whoever's hot this day, you got it. Let's rock and roll. I'm ready to support you and ready to give you a blow when you need to. So
we're live at Charlie's Pub and Eatery. It's Scott Talk with Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky. Caron Robinson will join us. We'll let Coach Scott grab a bite to eat, and we'll turn the page to the Gannon Golden Knights when he rejoins us. Caron Robinson when we come back. Welcome back to Scott Talk with Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky. Caron Robinson joining us here live from Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Not the outcome necessarily, but 2 straight weeks that you guys have run the ball a little bit. You were second team all-conference last year. Jerry, and again, he had a good game in his own right. Nico started to run the ball a little bit. We talked about it. Everybody knows it, right? Even Coach alluded to you leaving a couple out there. You're a good player. You did it last year. How frustrating was the first couple of weeks as you're trying to get a fit? And it seemed like you ran it pretty effectively against East Stroudsburg. Then maybe they kind of figured out a little bit, reaction. But how frustrating is it from your perspective, knowing that it's there? You need to slow down. He needs to speed up for everybody to get what seemingly now you guys appear to be on the same page.
Yeah, like you just said, we just needed to be on the same page. Just being patient with it. I didn't want to push too hard. That's what I was finding myself doing early on this season. So I just had to take a step back and just let the game come to me.
Now the ground game is, you got to do it, right? Everybody throw the ball. But if you want to throw the ball, you got to be able to run the ball. Sometimes it feels like you're beating your head up against the wall. But most people in the stands don't really know what we're looking for, right? You know what you're looking for. And we always talk about, how close you are to perfect and how close you are to making a terrible mistake. It's such a fine line between winning and losing. Is it simply just the timing of, you taking a breath, or maybe you not dancing and waiting to get to the next level? Like, how close is it between a no gain or like the 42-yarder you hit the other day?
It's a game of inches, so it's a split second. So a lot of the coaches has been telling me, when I see it, just go. My first read, I just got to go, instead of just dancing, trying to look for the big play. Just take what the defense gives me.
Now, you said you're on a bit of a hot streak. You had 10 for 121 and 2 touchdowns against California. Gannon coming up. Obviously, this is an offense now that's starting to score some points. You scored 35, you scored 30, in consecutive weeks, and really the thing that probably when you look at when things are good versus things being bad, Indiana seemingly couldn't get anything going, and then all of a sudden it broke. What's in the second half, you guys were able to run the football a little bit. How frustrating is that when you're this close to being there, but it's just at no gain, loss of 1, maybe a 2-yard gain, but you got to stay committed to. How frustrating is that?
It can get frustrating, but we try to do a good job of regulating that on the sidelines, keeping ourselves keeping positive energy throughout everybody.
Now you're in year 2 now?
Yes, sir.
Here at Edinboro. How different has year 1 to year 2 been? I don't mean the stat. I mean you. I mean, obviously, you came from Buffalo. What's the transition been like for you now that you're sort of like one of the veteran guys on the team?
It's been good. So my main thing was just finding a place where I could be more comfortable being myself. And I really found that here, and being that this is my second year, really just getting more comfortable with my teammates and new coaching staff. So everything been real good.
Now, obviously, you're bounced around a bit. Was the transition to another new head coach, because you'd done it multiple times before, was it a little bit easier in knowing what to expect versus maybe the first time you went through the process?
Yes, definitely. Coach Scott did a good job with us. Him being the only one here for a little bit of time, and just having good structure and good instilling discipline in us.
Now, being a guy that's been around the block or two and seeing, more so on the defensive side, but there's a couple of guys on the off, Junior Adam Line and Jeremiah Neely and, Bison, they got but now that they have much larger roles versus what their roles were last year. I mean, being a guy that's been around with multiple coaches, how much of a leader are you in terms of explaining to guys how important it is to handle their body, to handle their business? This is a long process. This is not high school football.
Yeah. So, I mean, I talk to them every day. Like, I talk to everybody every day, try to give them the push that they need. If they lacking in some areas, I just try to give them a helping hand, like, any way I could.
Now, obviously, we ask this to everybody. Don't be offended by it. But when you grow up and football is behind you, what is the plan going to be for your time after football?
My time after football, I'm looking to get into media.
Pays big bucks, trust me.
Yeah, I see. But yeah, I like to be the guy behind the camera, I like doing media production. So just like a real artistic type of person.
Well, certainly keep up the good work, Caron, and obviously the stretch run. We're going to talk a little bit to Coach. You are what your record says you are, but the wild west is the PSAC this year. There is plenty of football to be played. Thanks for joining us.
So thank you.
All right, Coach Scott will join us. We get ready for those Gannon Golden Knights at Scott Talk with Matt Scott live from Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. Welcome back to Scott Talk with Matt Scott. Joe Lodanosky with you. We're live from Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. And I know that the one game at a time mantra is the coach language, but for those of you who have not been paying attention to the standings, it is as wild as I ever remember it. And I believe the first time we sat down here, and even though you're coming off a loss that took whatever hair you had left out because of your frustration, the ultimate goal, a PSAC West championship, is still in play. I know you don't want to talk about playoffs. I know you don't want to talk about, but the fact that here we are in the last couple of weeks of October, last couple of weeks of the regular season, the opportunity to win a conference championship. Granted, you need some help, but you got some help last week. You will need, winning football. And to be at this juncture of the season, Coach, and still have the prize of winning the West in front of you, regardless of your record, has to, you shouldn't need to ask people to pay attention to what's going on, right?
Yeah. It's obviously each week just gets bigger and bigger. And so while last week's game was very disappointing, it was pretty easy for our guys to turn the page and turn the focus. And I don't think we're going to have to worry about getting beat by Fairmont State 2 weeks in a row, like some games can, and hang over you and things along those lines. And so we're excited, obviously, to still be in the mix here. And we know it's going to take one game at a time. But at the end of the day, our goal, right, is to play meaningful games in November. And if we can take care of the team up north here this week, we give ourself a chance to play meaningful games in November. So that's exciting.
And, of course, the team up north, Gannon, for those of you unaware, they have one win on the year, which you would say, that's an easy W. One win, game against Slippery Rock. You look at, this year, again, in the West, it is absolutely wide open. You look at in a short turnaround, Seton Hill beats California, Gannon beats Slippery Rock, then all of a sudden Slippery Rock beats Indiana, and the standings are just an absolute jumbled mess. But that's what we want, right? Playing meaningful games in the month of October and a legitimate chance to win the West, but one game at a time. Obviously, Gannon is, again, an interesting animal. You can't look at their record and come up with a conclusion. They are going to be athletic. They're going to be big. They're going to be fast. And they've had some interesting games, probably not for the Gannon faithful, but seemingly have been in just about every game that they tee it up in.
Yeah, and I would say other than us, they may have one of the more difficult schedules in the PSAC between having to open up with 2 GLIAC teams with Davenport and Saginaw, who are no joke out there, to then playing East Stroudsburg, to then having to go through the West. So they definitely are battle tested for sure. They've had some injuries along the way. They played Kutztown as well, just like we did. So again, they're a team that has the talent. They're a team that have been competitive the last couple of weeks in all of their games. We know for sure that records don't mean anything. Like, you better come up, you better show out, you better execute, you better play, you better be prepared, you better perform, you better coach these guys up. Like, so no one's looking at the record as anything else. It's a rivalry game for us. Like, let's rock and roll. They may well come out and be the New York Giants for all I know. I have no idea, but we're going to be ready to rock and roll and be prepared for a big game.
Now, they have had quite a bit of roster turnover from last year to next. Coach Ruzicki, I can't imagine philosophically there's a whole lot of difference, but there are going to be a lot of new players than we saw last year and the year before. What can you tell us about, or what to expect from this team? Because again, they have been a bit of a mystery. They've got arguably the best win, and they've been in the Clarion game was as wild a game as you will find, obviously. But what do you expect from Gannon?
Yeah, I think I guess the biggest thing is going to happen at quarterback there. They've been rotating both guys in there, and it's going to be very interesting to see who they decide to roll with. One's a lefty, one's a righty. Both are pretty athletic, can run around a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try to come in and attack us. They've had a lot of big plays, a lot of explosive plays in the pass game. They do a good job of getting the running backs involved in the pass game. So it's going to definitely be a challenge for sure. They've got some good tight ends that they'll feature out and move around a little bit. Defensively, the defensive front, I think, is a strong point for them. They do a good job of compressing the pocket and causing some havoc back there. So we're going to have to do a really, really good job of having some schemes ready to go for them and put our guys in the best position to be successful. So, but it's going to be a battle for sure.
I mean, is there anybody that you've played to date that you can kind of look at and build, some positive or negatives off of with what you anticipate scheme-wise?
Again, looking at them, the team, obviously they like the East Stroudsburg game is probably the one game probably throughout the season where they got completely away from, where 69-22 was the score, but they've done a great job of playing well at home. Every one of their games they've been right in it. So it's, like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how they try to attack us. Do they try to, because again, they've been much more of a pass team. They're going to be spread around a little bit. Are they going to try to attack us in the run game a little bit more defensively? Are they going to try to pressure us a little bit more offensively than they normally do? So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to go to some of the things that we've struggled in and try to attack us that way.
Now the time for the game that only I like to play. 3 reasons you win, 3 reasons you lose.
We should get a bell and a ding it every time if I get to all 6, because I typically don't. Listen, obviously, defensively for us, we're going to have to do an excellent job of stopping the run. Playing our type of football. That's what we've always prided ourselves on. That's what I've always prided myself on as a defensive coach. Like, you're gonna win a lot more games if you give up 250 yards passing than you are if you give up 250 yards rushing. You just can't do it. We have to do a tremendous job of stopping the run. When we get teams into those 2nd and long and 3rd and long situations, we've got to find a way to keep them behind those sticks. That's been an area that we've kind of struggled with a little bit from a defensive standpoint. So finding ways to keep people down, keeping people behind the sticks will be extremely important. That'll lead to field position opportunities and obviously getting the ball to our offense. I think offensively, just continuing to do a great job of taking what defenses give us, chunking it down the field. There's nothing wrong with the 15 play, 80-yard drive. There's nothing wrong with 10-yard plays instead of the 20-yard, 30-yard, 40-yard plays. Those plays will come as we start to move the ball down the field. So just doing a great job of taking what defenses give us. We still continue to talk about the special teams and finding a way to get out of neutral. I think you saw our kickoff return unit with Day Allen and those guys doing a great job of getting the ball out past the 40-yard line. So if we can find a way to get a special teams big play, explosive play, I think is going to help us tremendously. So again, we look at those things. If we can take what defense give us and not get too aggressive, if we can stop the run, if we can get off the field on third down situations, find a way to be explosive in the special teams, those things will always lead us to being successful. So we're going to really hang our hats on those this week, and hopefully we can have a great week.
You mentioned the special teams. Couple of field goals. One of the things that I thought was Rico Sastke, touchback after touchback after touchback. I mean, when you said we have to return the ball, but when you're eliminating the possibility of a return in the kick game, I thought that was that was a great improvement from a couple weeks earlier.
Yeah, and he's still coming along. I think the biggest thing for him is sometimes he just wants to crush it so bad that you'll get a couple of those end over end squib type kicks. My dad joked with me like, "Oh, you guys were trying to squib there," and I was like, "Nah, my guy we just mishit that one a little bit." So he's been working at it. He's getting his placement's getting much better. And again, I love Rico. He's an ultimate competitor. He keeps things light around there because he definitely has an interesting personality. So we're really glad to have him. Tanner Bruss is the guy that we started off the training camp and we're like, we don't know about this guy. And he got some swagger along the way and some confidence along the way. I don't know the last time that I've seen him miss a field goal in practice. We always kind of joke around. I joke with the kids on what we're going to, hey, if he makes this, we're going to get ice cream for our team dinner on Friday night. Meanwhile, I always know that whatever I put out there, I'm coming through no matter what because I know he's going to make it. But we always put that on him a little bit, put a little pressure on him, and he does a great job coming through. And I really like to highlight Matt Meacham as well, who did a tremendous job of stepping in and holding when Evan Lowe went down with the knee injury. He's done a great job of getting comfortable with Tanner as well.
All right, 11 o'clock airtime on the Fighting Scots Radio Network, presented by ErieInjury.com, the pregame show built by Hobbs Lumber, and, of course, a noon kick. We're live here at Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake, each and every Monday, and we appreciate everybody for coming out. Coach?
I just want last thing real quick, if I have some time. I just want to thank, we got through our giving day last Friday, and our alums and our supporters and our families, they did a tremendous job. We met and exceeded our goals to be able to provide some nutrition opportunities for our guys when they come through after workouts, training, all those things to continue to get bigger, faster, stronger as we build this thing. So people that believe in this, people that are buying into what we're trying to build here, I just want to thank you guys. It means a whole lot to our coaching staff, our players, and we're going to make you guys proud, and let's try and get one after the team up north this week. Go Burrow.
All right, there he is, Coach Scott. It's Scott Talk with Matt Scott. I'm Joe Lodanosky, each and every week here live from Charlie's Pub and Eatery, Route 99, just past the lake. And we'll talk to you on the radio Saturday morning.